Thanks, Catherine. So I think that probably what I'm going to say is going to be a little bit more personal than what Marley and Paul are going to talk about. I think I'm going to start by sort of walking through how I came to the program. So, you know, I've always made a point of trying to focus my career on work that has a positive social or environmental impact. And for me, that has primarily looked like nonprofit sector work, which is where I am at the moment as well. I did also complete an MBA where I specialized in nonprofit management. So as I came out of that MBA program and I was looking at where I wanted to be in my career, I started to realize that the nonprofit sector wasn't the only way to have an impact, and that there was the potential in business to have positive social and environmental change. And this is where my interest in CSR began to grow. So in looking for ways to specialize, I actually came across this program at St. Mike's several years ago. And then looking at it, somehow I started to think that it wasn't the right fit for me and that it was primarily geared to, C-suite level people. So I kind of put it on the back burner, but it was always there, and I always kind of came back to it and kind of browsed and was interested in the program. And around the same time, I moved into financial services where I worked for 4 years, and I took on a voluntary role as a co-chair of a corporate philanthropic foundation. And so that grew my interest in CSR. I had developed some granting experience in my nonprofit work, and I was applying to formal CSR roles, but it wasn't really going anywhere. So my interest was there in CSR, and I felt that I needed to specialize. And so I think it was sort of serendipity that brought me to this program. I'm a member of a women's networking group, and there was someone there in that group who actually had applied for the program and has gone through the program. And so when we were talking, she mentioned the program, and I said, "Oh, this is something that I've been looking at." And so she, said, you should reach out to Catherine and talk to Catherine. So I did. I set up a call with Catherine, and it was near the time of the second deadline. And so I decided to join the program. I joined the program. I would say that it maybe isn't the best way to join the program because it sort of was a last minute thing for me. And I think it does take a good amount of planning in terms of time management. I think at the front end of the program, there tends to be a little bit more time where you have to be, or ideally you're online and participating in webinars, whereas I think at the end of the program, the latter half, it's a bit more self-directed as you're working on the capstone. So for me, I'm really grateful that I joined the program, but I would also say that I wouldn't really advise just doing it at the last minute. I think it's good to go in with a bit more planning. But I am grateful that I joined the program because for me, it was a really transformative experience. So I mentioned that I was interested in CSR, but I was also sort of beginning at the same time as I joined this program, a DEI journey, and a journey into sort of how DEI affects me personally. And this course became very personal for me, specifically in Module 2, where we talked about some issues around community investment. And there were some conversations that came out of this module that were unplanned, but very heartfelt and emotional conversations about equity and how it affected everyone in the cohort, uh, including how we could be allies for each other. And as a result of those conversations, these really heartfelt conversations that I had with my peers, I actually pivoted my capstone after Module 2, which wasn't uncommon to pivot. But I was encouraged to do so by some of my peers because of some of the things that I was going through in terms of my DEI journey. And I felt supported. And that's something else I wanted to touch on is the people in the program. And I think for me, the learning was really important, but I think the people were equally important. So I had really amazing people in my cohort. We were able to have very open conversations and share our learnings, even when we were coming from very different backgrounds or had maybe very disparate mindsets. Everybody was respectful and everybody was there to learn. These are like-minded people in the program. and lifelong friend. As a result of that journey and pivoting my capstone and things that were going through my mind, there were a number of times where I would approach Catherine with suggestions on things that we could do, maybe how we could improve the program or add to the program. And Catherine was always very responsive and flexible in meeting our needs. For assignment 2, I was the only one who took the option of presenting a webinar to the cohort, and Catherine was very supportive with that process, and she helped me structure that webinar in a way that was mutually beneficial for our program, but also for the speaker. Catherine has been very supportive, was very supportive throughout the whole program, and even after the program. I am involved with some of the alumni committee work. Catherine is very approachable and flexible and easy to talk to. And I just wanted to touch on how I've applied this to my work. I work in the nonprofit sector. I'm not working in an environmental role specifically, but I have been able to bring my learnings to my work. So Habitat has recently taken on a very strong focus on DEIB work in terms of how it applies to our policies and processes. And I have been part of the inaugural committee in the organization working on that. I've been able to bring my learnings and some of the tools, frameworks, et cetera, to Habitat to guide our strategy and our processes. And I've been recognized for that in my performance review and by senior management. So I've been able to contribute directly as a result of what I learned in this course. So I guess the key things that I want to mention are that it is very flexible. It is a broad range of topics that you will learn, but you can choose how to dive into that further. So you can really focus through your capstone in the things that are interesting to you, and then you can learn from your peers who have chosen to do a deep dive into something else. There's the like-minded peers and the network that you will build with your peers, but also the mentors and the speakers, I think is really key to this program. You can learn from the mentors because they're professionals who are working in the sector. But the couple challenges that I did want to mention just for balance is the time that I mentioned. It is important to go in understanding that you will need some time and to do your best to ensure that you have support in your work and at home with those time constraints. And also the capstone, I think it is really beneficial to have it apply to your work. So if it's something that you're working on in your day job, I think it really helps, probably in time management, but also in how you can focus on it directly relevant to your job. I think that's kind of it for me.